Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you've last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all your submissions right after this class.
Hello everybody. So that was the process video for submission. I hope you guys have followed the submission process. In case you have joined in late, don't worry. I would be sharing the process video, the submission process video again once this class ends. So make sure you're following that towards the end. And just by submissions, I tend to remember uh, the submissions of the previous class, the response by you guys has been phenomenal. I mean, each one of you, each and every one of you have done such a brilliant job, such perfect brush strokes, and overall quality of the submissions has been superb. So I just had to select 10, and that's the reason I did that. But if I had a chance to feature all of yours, I would have featured each and every one of your submissions because you guys have been phenomenal from the class one itself. And that is something that motivates me to, come up with different kind of courses, design different courses whenever you make a submission. That is nothing but like a token of gratitude, a token of thanks that you give to your teacher and give her the motivation to come up with new courses. Yes. So everybody who attended the previous class and made their submission on time, I am really, really thankful and happy at the same time to see all of your brilliant submissions. Make sure you keep up this progress. Make sure you make your submissions as well. As I said, this is a small token of thankfulness or a small token of gratitude that you give to your teacher for the class that she has designed for you, the courses which she takes for you, innovative ideas that she comes up with to make the class even more fun for you. Okay. So make sure that you make your submissions, even if it is good, even if it is bad, let it be the way it is. Just make your submissions on time because that is something that brings a big smile on the teacher's face. Okay, so that was a small tip that I wanted to give you all. And for me, the previous submissions were brilliant. I'm super duper happy, and that's the reason I came up with class 2 was about watercolor florals. So let's get started with it. In the previous class, we learned different kind of brush strokes. And as I said, this time we would be doing a little deeper dive into watercolors. We are not going to make those regular landscapes or hand lettering stuffs. With that, we are going to do a little different in terms of the techniques of we use for watercolors and also in terms of understanding the application of watercolors. So these are the two major things that we are going to focus on in this course, and we are going to predominantly focus only on florals. Okay, so make sure that you're making your submissions for all the classes, make sure you're attending all the classes, and third, make sure you're having lots of fun in all the classes. Okay, I want all of you all to have lots of fun. And I'm sorry if I sound a little different to you. I have a little bit of cold, but don't worry, I'll not compromise on the fun activity that we have for today. So quickly give me a thumbs up that you're ready with your art materials and you want the art class to begin. You want the fun activity to begin. Quickly give me a thumbs up, then I'll share the screen and then we can just get started. Quickly give me a thumbs up in the chat section and then we can just get started with today's fun activity. Okay, I see 2 thumbs up coming in. Okay, giving you more 10 seconds to give quick thumbs up that yes, ma'am, we need the fun activity to begin and we are all excited for today's class. Yes, quickly give me a thumbs up. Okay, so I see lots of thumbs ups coming in the chat section now. That's too many. Okay, so I see all of you so excited for today's class. Even I am very excited for today's class. So let us get started. Okay, so I've shared the screen. I hope you can see the screen now. And as all of you all know, I discuss about the art materials very much in detail. Okay, so don't worry in case you're not having few one or two of these materials. I'll quickly take you all the art materials that we need in today's class. Okay, so let us get started then. Awesome. First, we need this size of white sheet. So this time it's a different size of white sheet. So the dimensions of the sheet were also mentioned in the materials required for this class. But here's a quick reminder for the size, the dimensions that we need. So this particular sheet that you see in front of your screen is 19 centimeters by somewhat 8 centimeters. Okay, so that's 19 centimeters by 8 centimeters. And if you are not having the exact same dimension sheet, that's fine. What you can do just is take your regular A5 size sheet and you can get started with that as well. And as all of you all know this trick, if you don't have a white sheet of paper, you can go ahead and use the page from your notebook. If you're not having the similar white sheet, you can also use any other colored sheet that you have. And since this is a bookmark that we're going to create, that's the reason I thought of giving you the dimension and the size of the sheet that we need. But as I said, in case you don't have the dimension sheet, the exact size of sheet ready with you, what you can do is just take an A5 size sheet. Sorry, and then you can just get started with the activity, and once you're done, you just cut it out and make a bookmark out of it. Okay, so that's the first basic art material. And the next one in the queue is this paintbrush. Of course, it's a watercolor course and you need something to paint with. And as I said, we will be predominantly focusing much more on the brush strokes. And hence, I have this round brush in size 3. And any size of round brush would be fine, but make sure it's a round brush and not a flat brush. Okay. So that's the brush that we need, the paint brush. The next in queue, the next thing that we need is this water container. Okay. So we need water for activating our watercolors and using the pigments and also for cleaning the brush. So make sure you have a container filled with water and of course the showstopper. chopper of our class are these watercolors. Okay, so I have good number of shades over here, but the funny part is that we need only two colors in this class. So we need a violet color and a green color. So that's a violet watercolor paint and a green, any shade of green watercolor paint. And I am guessing that maybe few of y'all may not be having a violet or a purple color as a watercolor. So what you can do is you can either use a red watercolor, you can use a crimson watercolor, or you can use a pink watercolor if you have. If you don't have any of these, trust me, you can still make your own choice of colors, since we would be predominantly focusing on the techniques. So it's fine for the first time if you just use any other color. You can even use blue, which may look a little closer to violet shade or purple shade. So that are the basic substitutes that I could give for the shades of watercolors. You can either use blue, you can use crimson, red, or either pink. But if you have purple, if you have violet, that's the best if you use that. Okay, so that's the watercolors that we need. And that's all. That's it. Again, just basic art materials that we need, and we are all set for the activity to begin. Okay, so it's time to take your brushes. So this time again, I want all of y'all to carefully observe on the screen. I want all of y'all to just carefully observe how I get started, and I will be repeating each and every process. So when I'm repeating the process, you can draw along with me, you can create along with me. But when I say that I'm playing for the first time, I want all of y'all to pay careful attention on the screen. Make sure you're keeping your art materials aside and focusing only on the screen. Okay, so that's the first step that we need to do. We need to observe the technique first, and then we should create it for ourselves on the paper. Okay, so first, everybody, I request all of y'all to please keep your eyes on the screen and observe this process. Okay, so one is we need to activate the color, right? So we are going to add a little bit of color. We are going to add a little bit of water to our violet, our purple watercolor paints. I've just added water to the violet watercolor, the purple watercolor over here. Okay, so these are watercolor cakes that I'm using. So the moment I add some water to the paint, it automatically gets activated and you have paint on your brushes. Okay, so that's what we do first. We add water to the paint to activate it. And so now once you have good pigment is nothing but the color, the paint that you have on your brush. So make sure you're having good amount of paint on your brushes. And then first just carefully observe what am I trying to create, because we are directly creating it with watercolors. We haven't created any rough sketches. We haven't done any rough sketches for a guideline. Since we are directly creating something onto the paper, it's good to first observe it and then you can create it for yourself. Okay. So I start from the top center portion, from the roughly top center portion, and look how I give simple dab effect from the start. So we just spot this dab effect that I'm creating. I'm not coloring it completely, but if you could spot this, there are some wide gaps that I leave in between. Okay, so that is what I'm creating. I'm just simply dabbing the brush onto the paper. Simply going to dab the brush onto the paper, and as I gradually move downwards, I increase the number of dots that I'm drawing. Okay, so everybody, please keep your eyes on the screen first. Carefully observe this. So look how I create these dots. I'm just creating these dots, simple dots. But the only thing that I keep in mind is as I move downwards, I'm adding a little bit of more dots. And we are going to add dots. We are not going to color it. We are not going to completely fill it with paint. If you could spot these, there are some white spaces that I leave in between. Okay, so these are very important. So make sure you're also leaving white spaces while you create this, okay? So I'm going to continue for a little while before I repeat the process. So we are creating a lavender bookmark. So we are creating a lavender flower here. So that is how we proceed with it. So don't worry, I would be repeating it again, but just for the first time, if you observe this, it would be really easy for you to create it again. Okay, so that's what I do. And as I said, as I move downwards, I gradually increase the number of dots that I'm creating. Okay, so just simply dab the brush. Look how I'm just dabbing the pointed part of the brush. I'm not dabbing the entire brush with pressure onto the paper. Just smoothly, just softly, we are going to just place the tip portion of the brush onto the paper. We need not entirely place the brush onto the paper. Just the top portion, the tip of the brush that we need for creating these tiny dots. Okay. So just for the first time, I'm going to quickly give you a small hint over here that as I move downwards, I increase the number of dots that I get. Okay. And by dots, I mean that we need to have these white spaces in between. Okay. So that are the most essential, one of the most essential part of creating this lavender flower. Because if there are no white spaces, it would not really look like a lavender. So make sure that there are few white spaces in between the dots that we are creating. Okay. And lastly, we give some dots as well. Okay. So look how I've created this. Could you just give a visual to the size or the shape that we have created? It is something like a teardrop shape, and we start from the top portion where we have only few dots, and then we move towards the bottom portion. The number of dots gradually increases, and make sure that there are good amount of white spaces in between the dots as well. Okay, so I'm going to quickly repeat. As I said, I had promised that I would be repeating it right from beginning. So this is the only thing that we have to do in today's class. Once you have understood this technique, it would be really easy for you to create it onto paper. Now I'm repeating it. All of y'all can just begin with me. Okay. So add some water to the paint. Quickly activate your violet color or the blue color or crimson or red or pink, any color that you're using. Activate that paint, add some water to the paint, activate that paint, and have good amount of paint on your brushes. And then start from the top center portion. Start from the top center portion. Start from the top center portion. And start by giving dots. Start by giving simple dots. Just 2 or 3 of these dots. And then when you gradually start moving downwards, just try to increase the number of dots. Okay, not too many, but just keep in mind that you're trying to create a teardrop shape. Okay, just keep in mind that you're trying to create a teardrop shape, and just keep adding dots, and make sure that you have good amount of white spaces in between the dots as well. Okay, so I'm gradually moving downwards. If you feel that the amount of color in your paint is getting really less, make sure that you are placing your brushes into the paint again and taking good amount of paint onto your brushes. Okay, so that's how we proceed with it. And as I gave you a quick hint that we are trying to create a teardrop shape itself. So if you could just visualize the teardrop shape, it has a pointed one side of it, and then it gradually increases towards the bottom side. Okay, so that is what I'm creating over here. And keep adding water to your paint if it's all dried up, because watercolors tend to just dry up really quickly. So it's fine if you keep adding water to the paint as and when necessary. Okay. So I'm just creating these dots, and as I said, I'm also leaving good amount of white spaces in between. And reminder again that we are just visualizing, or imagine that you're, just creating a teardrop shape. Just keep in mind that you're creating a teardrop shape with the help of dots, and you increase the number of dots as you move downwards. Okay. We need not move till the entire bottom side of the page, but just till the middle of it, you can stop. We have just created this teardrop shape over here. I'm going to add 2 more dots. Okay. Add 2 more dots. Right. So just giving few dots here and there. Now, if you see, I'm just cleaning the brush and I'm activating the green watercolor paint now. Okay, so we are just done with one lavender flower. This is how a lavender flower actually typically looks like. It doesn't have those perfect typical flower petals that we see around us. Lavender is a little different. It has a beautiful smell. So I hope you guys have already you guys are already aware about how beautiful the fragrance of this flower is. This is a lavender flower, and as I said, it doesn't have those typical flower petals. It has those tiny petals which are unequal in size, but they are into a bunch. So when they are into a bunch, it looks like a teardrop shape, and that is what we have created now. So we have just created one lavender flower over here. What we're going to do now is proceed with the leaves and the stem first. So all of y'all now, since this is a really easy step to, add the stem and the leaves, you can just create this along with me. So activate the green paint, add water to the green paint. And as I said, this was something that I also repeated in the previous class. Make sure that your brushes are clean. Okay, so since we have previously used violet paint or whatever shade that you have used, make sure that you're getting rid of the entire paint from your brushes. You're cleaning your brushes nice and well before you add water to the green watercolor. Okay, because we don't want the purple or the violet watercolor to mix with the green watercolor. Okay, so this is something that we tend to forget somehow, or we don't pay attention to because we are too much in hurry. So make sure that you're cleaning your brushes nice and well before you activate your green watercolor. Okay, so just activate your green watercolor, giving you 5 seconds to quickly add water to the green watercolor. Giving you a quick time to add some water to the green watercolor. Any shade of green would be fine. Any shade of green would be fine. Okay. Awesome. Make sure that again you have good amount of color on your brushes, and then right from the bottom of this flower, just create a thin stem. Okay, just create a thin stem right from the bottom of this flower. Create a thin stem with green watercolor. Okay, look, I've created the stem. This is the stem that I've created, taking you a little back right from here. So we take a little bit of green paint onto the brush and we create a stem below this lavender flower. I'm just adding the stem to this lavender flower over here. Okay. And then you can just add some leaves. Okay. So now when you are creating leaves, make sure that the leaves are longer. Okay. Because this particular flower has longer leaves, has elongated leaves. So in case you're not aware, make sure all eyes are on screen and draw it for the first time and then create it for yourself. Okay. So look how I create these long leaves. These are long, these are thinner leaves as well as compared to the regular leaves that we see around. So those are long, but they are thinner in shape, and we create these leaves on either sides of the stem. Okay? Don't worry, I will be repeating this again for you. I've just added the leaves on the either side, and these are long, elongated leaves. Okay, so here's a quick recap for you. Let's begin from here. I hope all of you all have good amount of paint onto the brushes. And now we start from one side and we start by creating longer leaves. Okay, longer and thinner leaves. So that's the first leaf that I've drawn. Look at the shape of the leaf. Focus on the shape of the leaf. Look how it's long but it's thinner. It's long but it's thinner. Okay. Similarly, below it, we add another leaf. Okay, that's the regular leaf in itself, but it is slightly longer and it is thinner. Okay, make sure that your leaves are attached to the stem, the main stem of the flower, and you can add these leaves. Okay, awesome. So if you could see that I have a little bit of space left on either side of this particular sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and add more of these lavender flowers and leaves. But if you're not having enough space, if you're, you have already utilized the entire sheet, make sure that you're not creating it unnecessarily. So if you don't have space now on the sheet, you can just completely ignore the next process, the next step. But if you have good amount of space on either side, you can just carry out the same process with me and create some more lavender flowers with leaves and stems. Okay. But as I said, if you don't have enough space, just leave it the way it is, because otherwise you'll just make it look a little more clumsy and untidy. Okay. So I'm just going to add more stems and the lavender flower. So what I'm going to do now is just create a stem on one side with the help of green watercolor. So I've just added this stem and I'm going to add one more on the other side. Just added one more on the other side. And now on the other ends, I'm going to create the lavender flower. Okay. So again, all of y'all just clean your brushes nice and well, get rid of the entire green watercolor that we have. And we're going to next use this similar violet watercolor and create some tiny lavenders this time. Okay. So I'm just creating tiny lavenders this time. Not like the center one, but tiny ones this time. Okay, so by now I hope you have already process of creating these lavender flowers. I'm not going to repeat it again for you, but as I said, if you have good amount of space on either side, you can just go ahead and add these flowers. But in case you're not having enough space, you can just completely skip this process, okay? So I've added one on the other side. I'm going to add another one. And again, it's a smaller flower that I've created. But I simply go ahead and add these dots in roughly that teardrop shape, okay, the teardrop shape. And I simply dab the pointed part of the brush and leave good amount of white spaces in between. Okay. So once done, again towards the bottom part, I feel there's good amount of white spaces. I'm again gonna go ahead and add tiny lavender flowers here as well. Again, if you feel that you don't have enough space, time being I'm repeating this, that you need not create these additional lavender flowers. Since I have a lot of white space left, I'm sort of going ahead and adding few more flowers to cover up the white spaces that I have. Adding one to the other side. Cleaning the brushes and adding the stem as well. Adding some leaves to the additional flowers that I need. So since I have a little bit of white space on the other side, I'm just going to go ahead and add another tiny lavender flower there as well. Okay. Again, these are tiny lavender flowers that I'm trying to create over here. And then I will just quickly draw a stem and it will be done. And just add some leaves, tiny leaves, and it is all done. So that's the lavender bookmark that we tried to create in today's class. So these were simple brush strokes this time, just by a technique of dabbing the pointed part of your round brushes. You can create a beautiful lavender flower. And the second part was understanding the structure of this particular flower, like it has a teardrop shape. It doesn't have those typical flower petals, but it has those tiny petals which are interlinked, which make a teardrop shape. And the second part was that it has elongated leaves. It has longer and thinner leaves. And that is what we created in today's class. Don't worry if you have just drawn one or you have created only one lavender flower. I added the other lavender flowers next to it because I felt that there was too much of white space left and I could pretty much add smaller lavender flowers. But if you have added these lavender flowers, that's fine. If you have not, it's fine as well. Okay, so that is what we created in today's class. I hope all of y'all enjoyed this fun activity. You all enjoyed taking a step forward in this watercolor journey. And again, a quick reminder for you is to please make your submissions on time. I personally evaluate all your submissions and look who is making the submissions on time, how many of you are attending your classes on time. So make sure that you're making your submissions because, as I said, the submissions are like a token of gratitude for us teachers and it brings a big smile to our faces as well. Okay, so make sure you're making your submissions, even if it is good, even if it is bad. Just make sure that you make your submissions on time. and I'm going to go right away after this class completes to check your submissions. So until next time, until the class 3, please take care of yourself and I'll see you in the next class. Okay, stay creative. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you've last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all your submissions.